right? So I have interquartile, but before we do that, let's review what is Q1, Q2, and Q3. So if I have a list of data, that's too big. So let's say I have 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, 12. Okay, so remember we find the median. We organize them from least to greatest. Okay, we found the median. The first median is Q2. Then we found a second median of this we call the lower half. This one is Q1. And then we find the median of the upper half, which is this one, which is called Q3. And then we talk about Q1 is 25% of the population, 50%, 75% of the population. So that's what we talked about last class, okay? What we can say is about 25% of the population get 4 or less. Or we can say 50% of our population is getting 8 or less. Or we can say 75% of the population is get 12 or less. That is the quintile for. And that's what we cover. What we're going to do today with Khan Academy practice is that you're going to interpret the meaning. So I may ask, one of the questions they may ask is, what is 75% of this? And then you can tell me that numbers. Okay, so that's what we cover. So from the last example, the next one of the assignment is you're going to find the interquartile range. What that means is the difference between third and first quartiles. So let's go think about the last example. You may or may not remember, but we have 15 test score. And we found Q1 is 10, Q3 is 18. So to find the interquartile, I'm just take Q3, which is 18, and minus Q1, which is 10. That's give me A. And that is the interquartile range. I take Q3 minus Q1. It's pretty simple. But the practice that you are doing is not going to be that example. They're not going to give you the Q3 and Q1. But what they want you to do is find Q3 and Q1, then subtract those two. Okay, so that's the work that you have to do. So interquartile is Q3 minus Q1. So you want to jot it down somewhere, or you want to save, when I end the lesson today, you want to save this document, or you can look for this document in the note folder. You can do that. Questions for me so far? So let's look at, this would be one of the Khan Academy problems that they ask you to find the interquartile range. So in here, I have a graph. We don't know Q1, we don't know Q3. Keep in mind this means Q3 minus Q1, but I don't know them. So the first step that I would do is that I'm looking at the dot, and then I have to relist these dots as my data. So in here, 7, I have 1, 7. 9, I have 2, 9. For 10, I have 3, so that's 10, 10, and 10. Then for 11, I have 1. 12, I have 2, 12. And 14, I have 1, 14. So I list the number out. So then they gave you a list, a graph, a dot plot instead of a list, which is okay. We know how to read the plot. We should be able to list them out. So step number 1, I need to find the median. So cross these out. So in the middle, I have 10, right? I have 2 10s. So if I combine them, 10 plus 10 divided by 2, so it's still 10. So that is one of my medians. The second one is that this is my lower half. This is my upper half. Notice when you combine those two, we have the number in the middle, so I'm still using that 10. So now I can find my second median, which is 9. Then I can find my third median, which is 12. So this is Q3, this is Q1, this is Q2. So to find the interquartile, I'm take Q1, which is 12, minus 9, that's give me 3. So 3 sum. I'm going to pause for questions, and if you need to copy this down. All right then, so that example is for this title, this practice, interquartile range. You will see that listed there. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is box and whisker plot. Some of you may heard of it, some of you may not. So for the time that we have today, we have classes shortened, and I want to give you as much time as I can for class time so you can do Khan Academy. So for this one, if you have a data set, what you need to do is we need to find Q1, Q2, Q3. We need to know the min and the max. Those are the 5 things that you need to know in order for you to construct the box and whisker plot. Okay, so for the time that we have, let's go back and review. This is the example that we did earlier. We did it last class. So let's recall Q1 is 10, Q2 is 15, Q3 is 18. The minimum in here is 5. The maximum is 37. Okay, so normally when you do the practice, you don't have these numbers ready for you. But you have that Google Sheet. You can type it in. It will do the work for you. If you want to do by hand, that is fine. But you have a bunch of numbers, I would do by Google Sheet. Okay, so here's how you're going to construct the box and whisker plot. Step number 1, you draw that line. It's like a number line. Okay, the end point, the 2 end point will be the min and the max. So this is the min, this is the max. So I just label my point, which is 5 and 37. Okay, so that's the first 2 steps. I draw the number line, label min and max at my endpoints. Now I'm going to plot Q1, Q2, and Q3 in this graph. So try to do as close as possible. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm looking at Q10, Q1 is 10, Q2 is 15. So I'm going to start with Q2. 15, 37, half of 37 is in the middle, so 15 is a bit less. So around here is 15. And then I have Q1, which is 10, so around here, right? That chunk is about 10. And then 18 is a bit closer, so 18. So I label all of them. So we need to know all of these information. And the last steps that I would do, I would make the box around Q1, Q2, and Q3. And this is called the box and whisker plot. Okay, so I make a number line, step number 1. I make the number line. The 2 endpoint are my min and max. I label that. Then I grab Q1, Q2, and Q3, and then I'm going to make the box for Q1 and Q3, draw that rectangle. Okay, so this is box and whisker plot. Questions? Okay, one of the problems that you may run into. So they may give you a box and whisker plot, and then you're going to decide which data set match with the graph. So here's the thing, if you understand box and whisker plot, these 2 points right here, the 2 end point, that is my min and max. So this is my min, this is my max. The first line is Q1, Q2, and Q3. So that's every box and whisker plot. Those are the 5 things that you should know. It will list it there. Okay. So let's identify the values. The minimum in this case is 3. Q1 right here, this line is between 6 and 8, so that will be 7. Q2 is 10, 13, and then this would be 18. With the number that I just listed out, I got minimum Q1, Q2, Q3, and the max. There is one choice that I can just eliminate right away. Can someone tell me what choice that I can just cross out right now and I don't even have to consider that choice?
C.
C, yes, because I'm looking at my minimum, I have the 2. That's not my minimum. Thank you. So C is out of the question. We don't need to look at it. Now we can look at A, B, and C. So I'm looking for the median, which is 10. So I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my median is 10. So that's still the middle number is 10. So that still counts. So I'm going to try the next one. I'm just trying to eliminate the choices. Okay, so it's still 10, right? So I don't know. I'm going to try this third one. This one is 12. I don't have 12. So I know D is not one of my choice. So I eliminate that C and D. Now I'm down to A and B. So right now I'm just trying to figure out Q1 and Q3. Is this B? So I'm gonna kind of clear this out so that we can see why you think it's B.
3, 7, 10, 13, and 18.
18, right? The minimum is 3, and then the median is 7. Good. A, I have 8, so that's not it. So the answer for this one is B. Yeah, so that's one of the options. That's the right choice. So for this one, you just have to play around with numbers a little bit, but it's important that you recognize the box and whisker and you know what is the values of the minimum, the maximum, Q1, Q2, and Q3. And then we can just narrow down our choices. Okay, cool. So that's one of the questions that you may run into. You want to take a picture? I'll give you a few seconds to copy this down and ask questions, and then we can move on. Okay. All right, so in here it says construct box and whisker plot, which we've been doing this, right? We just have to list this from least to greatest. So I need to know the minimum, Q1, Q2, Q3, and max. So I have to read, this one is already organized for you, so we don't have to do much. We don't have to organize them. So let's step number 1. I'm going to find the median, which is 19. And then in here, the lower half, which is 15, split it up. So this will give me 15. Then I can do for my upper half is 20 and 22. So that would be 21. So I have minimum is 12. Q1 is 15. Q2 is 19. Q3 is 21. And the maximum is 24. So that will be the number that I would use. So let me jot it down because I have to move to the next screen. 19, 21, and 24. Okay. So now what you have to do for this one is they gave you, whoops, I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that. So for this one, we just construct and make a line. I have my minimum, 12, 24, 19, 21, and 15. And then I just make the box. Okay. So it's okay if the number, I'm not gonna go crazy with like you have to be exactly on the number line, have to be but I want you to label that number so I know which number that you use. Okay. So that's box and whisker plot. Okay, this is one of the questions last class I think Alana was asking about. So do we have to answer the questions? That's what we're going to focus on today. This question was the box plot suggests that Olga served fewer than what number of aces during 75%. So here's the thing, 75% of tennis matches. Which quarter, which Q is that? This is the minimum. Q1, Q2, Q3, and the max. So we talk about 75%. Which values are we looking at? The min, Q1, Q2, Q3, or max? Can someone tell me? Anyone remember if we talk about 75% of the population, that would be which one? Okay, Q3. So here's, I'm going to remind for some of you not remember. So Q1 is 25%. Q2 is 50%, and this one is 75%. Okay, so Q3 represented, we talk about 75%, we talk about Q3. So it's saying that the box plots which numbers is going to be 10 or less. So the answer would be, look at Q3, which is 10. And that's what you should put down in Khan Academy. So they will ask you some question like this. They may ask you about 50% of the population or 25%. So you should know which one that we're talking about. So again, think about the Q as like quarters. Q1 is like 1/4. Q2, you have 2 quarters. Q3, you have 3 quarters, right? 3 quarters, 75 cents. 75%. 2 quarters, 50 cents, 50%. All right, so think about that. Q is like quarters. All right, questions for me? So right now I'm just kind of go through examples that you will run into Khan Academy. So it's nothing new, but another questions about you want to interpret the quartiles, right? This one asking about 50%. So if they ask about 50%, which values do I look at? Do I look at the minimum Q1? In here they said median, but this one is really Q2. Okay, Q3 and the max. If 50%, which values am I looking at? Yes, Q2. Thank you, Winston. So we look at Q2. In this case, Q2 is 10. So it's asking the numbers just about 50% have fewer than 10. We're going to have 10 or fewer. So that's the number that you want to plug it in. Okay. All right, so let's see. These are the 3 assignments that you're going to work on. So like I said, I assigned 4 assignments. The first one is interquartile, which is you get Q3 minus Q1, and then along with these 3. These assignments, they will be due on the day of the exam. So you have some days to do it, okay? Right now, I want to give you this time to check in with me, to schedule the time, like an appointment to see me for Flip Remote, or you want to do a retake, you want to make up some missing summative. Now is a good time for us to do it. So I'll give you the rest of the time to work on Khan Academy assignment. If you need to share the screen, you may.